So last year around this time, I decided I wanted to buy a new pair of Bluetooth headphones. And the way that my brain operates is I need to try out all of them before I can really settle on something. Because if I just buy one, my brain keeps thinking, well, hold on, there's another one that could be better. So I ended up buying about 20 or 30 products. And throughout this process, Amazon actually closed my account because I was returning too many headphones and testing them out. My wife was not happy about this either, which is understandable. After trying out all these, I ultimately landed on the Sennheiser Momentum Wireless 2.0 headphones. I just thought that these were some of the most comfortable, probably the best sounding of the bunch that I had tried, and the battery lasted basically forever. Of course, they were the most expensive that I had tried, but in my opinion, these are probably the best Bluetooth noise-canceling headphones that you can buy right now. The Sennheiser Momentums don't look like your typical over-ear headphones. I think they've got a really unique industrial, almost steampunk kind of look to them. Along the top, you've got a nice leather stitching ending in a metal plate with some branding, and underneath that is some padding for the headband, which is actually pretty hard and stiff to the touch. At first I was concerned, but to me the headphone was super comfortable and I didn't even notice it. Most headphones have some really thick padding in this area, so at first I was worried, but once I started using them, I never even noticed. The Momentums are foldable, which make these really convenient for traveling. You've got these 4 visible screws above the folding joint that just add to the industrial look, and under the joint is a marking for left and right. To adjust the size of the headphones, you can just slide them up or down. At first I was a little worried that these would wear out or wouldn't stay in the same spot after extended use, especially after folding them up and traveling with them. But it takes a decent amount of force to move them up and down, and they do a good job of staying in place. Plus, I think it's a pretty unique style. The outside of the cups are made of a plasticky material, which is a little disappointing. I've read some other reviews online, and some people seem to be having an issue with this sort of peeling off. But I've had mine for about a year, and I have not had any of these problems, thankfully. Just something to keep in mind for the future. The pads are a really nice, plush, leathery feeling material. They're super comfortable. It's almost got like a memory foam kind of feel to it. They do get hot depending on the environment, but that's kind of a given for closed-back headphones with big cups like these. My only complaint comfort-wise is that the cups themselves aren't quite deep enough. I've got pretty small ears, and every once in a while I can feel the top of my ear resting against the inside of the cup. I know this is subjective. This will absolutely depend on the size of your ears, but just keep that in mind if you're going to go out and buy these. If you have bigger ears, just know that these aren't the biggest cups, so you might have an issue with comfort. Overall, though, I think these headphones look awesome. It's a really nice aesthetic. In my opinion, it looks different from most headphones on the market, and they're very, very comfortable. Sennheiser includes a case, which looks nice, has plenty of room for storing accessories like cables and adapters. The case itself does have some flex and give, but I have stuffed this thing into a cramped backpack and it did just fine. No damage was caused to the headphones themselves. However, it can be a little bit of a lint magnet. You also get a wired headphone cable. One end is a standard 3.5mm and the other one's a bit smaller. I think it's about 2.5mm. That small end goes into the headphone and can lock in. You get a micro USB charging cable and an old school travel adapter for airplanes. On the bottom right cup is the on or off button, which you can hold for a few extra seconds to go into pairing mode. Below that is a little switch. If you flick it up or flick it down, it will change the volume, or if you press it down, it'll pause or play the media you're listening to. If you press down twice quickly, it'll skip the song. Press down 3 times and it'll go to the previous track. If you aren't listening to music and you press down on the switch 3 times, the voice prompt will let you know how much battery life is remaining as well. Aside from doing a great job of playing music, which I'll discuss later on in the review, you can also make and take phone calls with these headphones. If your phone is ringing, you can just press down on a switch to accept a call, and it will automatically be transferred over to the headphones, and you can press it again to hang up when you're done. Call quality I found to be excellent. The microphone worked really well. I never received any complaints from anyone while I was having a conversation with them using this to talk on the phone. I just thought it was a great feature. Worked very, very well. The signal strength is also excellent. I test this one out by setting my phone on my desk in the living room, walking into other rooms in the house like the kitchen, the bathroom. Using a smartphone, I never had any sort of problem with the signal cutting out. However, the signal strength is going to depend on the device that you're using as well. For example, my Dell XPS 15, my main laptop that I'm using right now, it doesn't have the best Bluetooth signal strength quality in the world. Unfortunately, after I walked into another room, maybe 20 or 30 feet away, it would start to cut in and out, so that will depend on the device that you're using. Battery life is advertised for around 22 hours, and I found I usually got anywhere from 20 to 25 hours of usage with a single charge, which is fantastic. And additionally, over the past year or so that I've used these, I haven't noticed any sort of decrease in battery capacity. These headphones are really comfortable, but unfortunately they're not anywhere near the level that the Bose QC35s are at. Those things are just ridiculous. They're pretty much the most comfortable over-ear Bluetooth headphone on the market right now. Luckily, these headphones sound just as good as they look and feel. The sound quality is superb. The most impressive part for me was how similar everything sounded as I was testing out wired versus Bluetooth. Bluetooth's problem has always been having to compress the audio while transmitting wirelessly to the headphones, but I feel like the technology within the last few years is really improving. These headphones sounded as good as a lot of wired headphones I tried, which is pretty damn impressive. I wouldn't say these are as good as something like the HC650s, although in some areas I actually prefer the Momentums to the 650s. But in my opinion, these are the best sounding noise cancelling headphones I've ever tried, and that includes the Bose QC35s and the Sony 1000Xs. I would describe the sound quality of the Momentums as warm and smooth. They're not neutral, there's a bit of a bass boost here, but it's not to the point where it's fatiguing. They're also a very natural sounding headphone. Voices sound great, and I love using these for watching videos, and I even edit a ton of video using them too. These are not reference headphones. They're nowhere near as detailed as some of the mid-fi open-back headphones like the HC600s or 650s, but these are still damn good. I even prefer these to the 650s for some genres because the 600s and 650s are not forgiving really for albums with bad recordings or mastering, but these ones can be because of the sound signature. The bass is accentuated. It's not too bloated, but the mids are still pretty clear and present. I was honestly surprised with that. Compared to something like the V-Moto wireless, it's closer to a neutral sound than anything. The V-Motos were so bass heavy, it got to the point where they were really fatiguing for me after about 20 minutes. These do have a rich bass sound, but they're not overpowering, they're not fatiguing. The treble is not quite as present or as sparkly as the HC600s or 650s, but the cymbals and the snare drums still sound great. I love using snare drums as a reference for headphones because they're usually up in the mix, you can hear them really well, and they've got such an interesting sound. A low power amp will make them sound flat, make the snares sound dead, but these Momentums, the snares sounded full and lively, and the cymbals weren't too recessed, but also not overpowering like they could be on something like the IE800s that Sennheiser also makes. In comparing to the Momentums, I would say that the Bose QC35s were good. Probably a bit more of a neutral sound. My problem with the 35s wasn't necessarily the sound signature, it was actually the active noise cancellation. It was so strong and so good that it really created too much pressure in my ears, so I couldn't wear them for more than something like 30 minutes at a time without feeling that pressure and fatigue. But goddamn, the noise cancellation was amazing, and it worked really well on the 35s. If you travel a lot, do stick with the Bose. The noise cancellation on the Momentums is good, but not anywhere near good enough for airplanes in my eyes. I tried bringing these with me on a plane twice, and both times I felt like I had to turn the volume up to an unsafe level, much louder than I typically would listen to, really to be able to hear anything. And comparing to the Sony 1000Xs, I would describe the Momentums as having a much more natural, rich sound. I didn't have the Sonys for more than a few days, but there was just something about them that sounded artificial. That's really the only word that I can use to describe them. They weren't bad. I think I actually preferred the 1000Xs to the Bose from a sound quality standpoint, but they just didn't sound natural to me. It was definitely more neutral than I expected. I thought that for sure the Sonys would be kind of V-shaped, bass heavy, but I found the Momentums to actually have a warmer sound with more bass overall. The Sonys weren't bad by any means, but I just enjoyed the Momentum sound signature a whole lot better. The only headphone that really challenged the Momentums for me were the Bower & Wilkins P7 wireless. Those things sounded incredible. Probably overall a better, more natural sound than the Momentums, but I felt that they were too bass heavy, which I didn't expect after reading some reviews online and no one really talking about the bass. They were much more bass heavy than the Momentums, and they were pretty fatiguing for me too, just like the V-Motos. I had to use an EQ to lower the bass on the P7s, and then when I did that, I thought that they sounded fantastic, much better than Momentums, but I didn't want to have to do that every time I used them. If you don't really care about noise canceling and you want something on the bass-heavy side, I would absolutely consider the P7s. Those little things were fantastic. Just keep in mind now that they do have a ton of clamping force, which means when I put them on my head, it just squeezed it so tight that I got a headache after about 10 or 15 minutes. I would imagine that would loosen up after a few weeks, but in the beginning it was pretty rough. Overall, these are a fun-sounding headphone, but not to the point where you're going to get irritated that they're not 100% neutral, like this HG600s, for example. Fun usually means a V-shaped or smiley-faced EQ with recessed mids, but I didn't find that to be the case. I thought that these were very warm, very full, and just a lot of fun to listen to in almost all types of music. For me, these really shine with stuff that's on the slightly heavier side, something like rock, modern jazz fusion like Snarky Puppy, pop and electronic's going to work very well with these. I also think these are great if you listen to the really heavy stuff, some metal, progressive metal, extreme metal, Dillinger Escape Plan, Between the Buried and Me, that sort of thing. These really, really do well with the heavier metal too. So I know some people think it's crazy to spend this much money on headphones, but I do believe that there's a real tangible difference between this and something that costs, $20 at Best Buy. For me, it's worth every penny. If you're a frequent flyer, though, I wouldn't recommend these. I think the Bose is going to serve you better, but if you're using these primarily at home or at the office, I think these are the best noise-canceling headphones that you can buy right now. If you guys like this review, a thumbs up would be awesome. I'd really appreciate it. Plus, it would help me in convincing my wife to let me buy more headphones to try out in any future video. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I've got more reviews coming soon.